Welcome back to another episode of Watch Me Mix. In the previous episode, we finished doing the preliminary setup of the piano, steel guitar, electric guitar, and we're about to dive into the strings here. So this is Old Empty Nest, Domestic Research Partners. Let's keep going. So these three violins here, they're all the same thing, just three takes. Same with three violas. So I'm going to do something real simple with these here. I just want to show you. So it's simple, but it has some logic to it, and it's not too simple. So here's the viola. Here's the violin. Higher frequency on the violin. Higher frequencies, generally, we want them to be wider in terms of panning. So we're going to do something real straightforward. We're going to leave the first one, pan center. We're going to take these two separate ones, and we're going to pan them to 30 and 30. Actually, let's go 35 and 35. And then we're going to go to viola, leave the first one center, and pan these to 15 and 15. And then we're going to balance, oops, wrong one here, 15 and 15. And we're going to balance these. So starting with the first one, this is the center one. I'm going to balance it against the center viola. So we're going to turn this all the way down. There's the violin by itself. Bring in the viola. And what I'm looking for here is I don't want the violin to be the lead. I just want a good balance. I only turned this one down just because that's a good technique for blending. I want to start with nothing and slowly add it in rather than start with both of them and I don't really know where to go. So I start with nothing in the viola and slowly add it in until they sound balanced with each other. Okay, I like that. And I'm going to assume, because these all look the same levels, that this balance is going to work for all of them. So we have the violin set at -10 and the viola set at -7. So let's take both of these violins. We're going to leave them at -10. And both of these violas we're going to put down to -7. Sorry, bring up to -7, excuse me. And now we should be relatively balanced with some stereo width here. Sounds good. I'm going to increase the width on everything here. Actually, I'm going to go to 45 on the violins. And I'm going to go to 35 on the violas. Good. And then we're going to take these two wide ones. And I'm actually going to bring them up a little bit. You might be able to see what I'm doing better in this view. So violin, center, violin, violin, 45, 45, viola, center, viola, viola, 35. We'll do it this way so it's even. 35 left and 35 right on this one. And all I'm doing is I want to bring these two up a little bit. Oh, I have the wrong ones. Okay, yeah. So we got to select these two, go to 7, and I want to bring them both up a little bit. Good, I like that. And we're going to go to cello here. And what I'm going to do is pull this all the way back and mix it in with all those strings we've already done. But before I do that, actually, I think I'm just going to put an EQ on the cello. So let's just listen to it. If you remember, we boosted the bass guitar around 80. I'm going to boost the cello somewhere around 110 or so. It's doing a lot of stuff in there. Yeah, right in here. And then what I'm going to do is something a little bit unique. We're going to do a compressor, but I'm going to do a little bit of a unique thing on this compressor. So when I listen to this cello, there's certain moments where it feels like it gets louder right in there. That frequency bump feels very loud. keep listening. That same one, pretty loud. Same one, pretty loud. So what I'm going to do is I want to compress the cello, but I just want to compress it during, based on that one louder frequency. So we can move one of these around and sort of find out exactly what that frequency is. So I can put that there, and then I can see it's 178 hertz. So I'm just going to option click that to put it back to where it was. And then we're going to go into my compressor. And then what I'm going to do is turn on sidechain. And you might have heard of sidechain compression where we sidechain it based off some other instrument, but that's not what I'm going to do here. I'm going to use a filter at 178 hertz. In fact, I'll just type it in here. Doesn't have to be exact, but might as well here. And we're going to do band pass, which means that I'm going to be listening. I don't know why it doesn't want to type in 178, but that's all right. I'm going to be listening to just the 178 hertz band if I hit listen. So I'm just listening to that band. And what we're going to do is we're going to compress based on just that band. See how much it wants to compress just there? So all this stuff is not compressed. When it hits that frequency, it'll compress. See that? So I want a pretty dramatic response here, but then I want it to go back down when that frequency isn't super loud. So more ratio, mess with the threshold. Good, quick release. Cool. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just set the filter to on, which allows me to listen to the whole frequency band of the performance, but with that compression happening on that 170. In this case, it's 174, but right around where I want it. Good. So that keeps that a little bit more under control. One more time, just going to turn it down. We'll listen to it. See how it keeps that ringing under control a little bit. The other thing you could do, of course, is you could throw on an EQ and find the frequency you want and, 170, whatever it was, and just EQ it out. But then that frequency is EQ'd out of the entire performance all the time. So that could work for this too. You could also use a dynamic EQ where it does essentially what I'm doing, but it does it in the form of an EQ, which you can use. I have one of them. F6 is what I like here. This one. I'm sure like FabFilter probably does it. Everyone loves FabFilter. But yeah, you can do the same thing here and make one of these a dynamic EQ. I'm just doing it with a compressor. Okay, so let's keep going. We're going to mix that cello in with the strings. So now I'm going to mix the strings down behind the bass. piano in here. Okay, take a listen here as they come in. So this feels pretty balanced to me. So we're gonna get ready to move on here. The next section is gonna be getting these horns in. I think I can squeak that in, end of the episode here. So let's take a listen to these horns. Okay, it's like a French horn type thing. What's this brass one doing? Okay, like a tuba. All right, so let's just mix this in here. I'm not gonna EQ it. Yeah, bass and piano. Yep, we're gonna leave that pretty quiet for now. That works. And then this brass is gonna be, it's gonna need to come up quite a bit. I might have to gain it up. I'm gonna mute this steel guitar because we have some peaking there, so we'll have to deal with that later, but let me get this going. Good. And I want these actually a little bit louder. I'm struggling to get them where I want them. I like them relative to each other right now, but everything else feels too loud. So real simple. We're just going to select everything I've done so far. We're going to play through that passage again and pull everything I've done so far down. Except the horns. Cool. One more time. Cool. So that's a really good technique, is just bringing everything else down if you are struggling to get something else up, because we can bring everything up later on. So that'll do it for this episode. This little peak in the electric guitar right here, or the steel guitar, we'll have to deal with that at some point, but I'm just going to ignore it for now. And we'll get going on probably the drums on the next episode. Stick around.